Excellent. I'll use this title. My ex called me fat, she whispered to the billionaire beside me, not knowing he'd spend everything to protect her. The cruelest words are often spoken with a smile. On a bright Saturday afternoon, beneath a cloudless blue sky and surrounded by hundreds of people gathered for the annual Riverside Charity Festival, Mara Whitlock heard the voice she had spent 5 years trying to forget. It floated across the crowd like poison wrapped in silk. Her ex-husband glanced at her, smirked, and quietly mocked the weight she had gained after years of surviving heartbreak, stress, and loneliness. He believed she was still the woman whose confidence could be shattered by a few careless words. He had no idea that the quiet man standing beside her wasn't simply another guest. Within hours, the entire city would witness a chain of events that would prove kindness is far stronger than cruelty, and that the greatest revenge is becoming impossible to break. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that restore hope, please like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire so you never miss another unforgettable journey. The warm morning sun painted the park in bright shades of gold and green as families wandered between food stalls, children laughed near colorful balloons, and local musicians filled the air with cheerful melodies. Mara Whitlock had almost convinced herself not to attend. At 38, she no longer looked like the confident young architect she had once been. Years earlier, after suffering a difficult pregnancy that ended in heartbreaking loss, followed by depression and the collapse of her marriage, food had quietly become her comfort. The pounds arrived slowly, but the judgment from others arrived much faster. Friends drifted away. Invitations stopped coming. Social media became another place where impossible beauty standards reminded her daily that she no longer fit the world's definition of worthy. Yet Mara refused to let grief define her forever. During the previous year she had started rebuilding her life one tiny step at a time. She accepted freelance design projects, volunteered with a children's community center, and learned that healing rarely happens in dramatic moments. Instead, it grows through ordinary mornings when choosing to get out of bed becomes its own kind of victory. That charity festival represented another small victory. She promised herself she would smile, support the fundraiser, and return home proud that she had shown up. Fate, however, had other plans. Near the center pavilion stood Nolan Pierce, a billionaire investor known across the country for rebuilding struggling neighborhoods instead of buying luxury yachts. Few people recognized him because he disliked attention and preferred walking through public events without bodyguards surrounding him. He had come quietly to evaluate projects funded by his charitable foundation. While listening to volunteers explain their programs, he noticed Mara patiently helping frightened children decorate wooden birdhouses. She never tried to impress anyone. She simply encouraged each child with genuine warmth, celebrating crooked paint lines as if they were masterpieces. Then the cruel whisper reached his ears. Mara's ex-husband, Grant Halden, laughed softly to the people standing beside him. He mocked her appearance and acted as though she had become someone unworthy of respect. He expected others to laugh with him. Instead, silence settled over the small group. Mara heard every word. Her shoulders stiffened for a single painful moment, yet she continued smiling toward the children. Anyone watching closely could see the hurt hidden behind her calm expression. Nolan watched something remarkable happen. Rather than retaliate or create a scene, Mara finished helping every child before quietly walking toward a shaded bench overlooking the lake. She sat alone, staring across the sparkling water while pretending to admire the ducks gliding across the surface. The truth was much harder. She was fighting tears she refused to let anyone see. Many people believe strength looks loud. Real strength often looks exactly like that quiet woman choosing dignity when humiliation would have been easier. Nolan introduced himself not as a billionaire but simply as another volunteer. They spoke about architecture, community projects, and the importance of designing playgrounds where every child felt welcome. For nearly an hour they discussed dreams instead of disappointments. Mara never complained about her past. She never mentioned the insult. She simply spoke with quiet passion about creating spaces where lonely people could feel they belonged. That conversation stayed with Nolan long after the festival ended. Over the following weeks he anonymously reviewed every community proposal Mara had ever submitted. Her ideas were thoughtful, affordable, and deeply compassionate. The only reason they had been rejected repeatedly was because larger firms with stronger financial backing always pushed her aside. Nolan recognized something many investors overlooked. Talent without confidence often waits for someone willing to believe first. 3 months later Mara received an invitation to present her newest design concept before the board of the Pierce Community Foundation. She nearly declined, convinced she wasn't qualified. After years of criticism, self-doubt had become louder than hope. But she accepted, borrowed a simple navy blue suit, organized her drawings, and walked into the conference room determined to give everything she had. Her presentation lasted only 25 minutes, yet every minute reflected years of compassion. Instead of focusing on profits, she designed affordable neighborhoods where elderly residents, single parents, children, and disabled families could genuinely build community together. The room remained silent after she finished. Then came the applause. Nolan announced that the foundation would fund not only her proposal but also appoint her lead designer for an ambitious nationwide community renewal project worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Reporters covering the announcement expected another corporate success story. Instead they witnessed a woman overcome by gratitude, struggling to believe that someone finally saw her value beyond appearances. News traveled quickly. Grant watched the announcement from his office television. The woman he had dismissed as a failure was suddenly leading one of the country's most admired charitable developments. Worse still, every interview praised her kindness, intelligence, and resilience rather than discussing her appearance. For the first time in years, he realized what he had truly lost. Meanwhile Mara's transformation had nothing to do with becoming thinner overnight. She began exercising because she wanted more energy, not because she wanted revenge. She met nutritionists who focused on health instead of shame. She laughed more often. She slept peacefully again. Confidence slowly replaced insecurity. Months later she had indeed lost weight, but the greatest difference appeared in her eyes. Hope had returned. Nolan never tried to rescue Mara from her past. Instead he consistently reminded her that she had rescued herself. His support came through opportunities, honesty, and quiet encouragement rather than grand speeches. Their friendship deepened naturally through shared projects, long planning sessions, and visits to neighborhoods where grateful families finally received safe homes. One sunny afternoon nearly a year after the festival, the completed Riverside Community Village officially opened. Thousands attended. Children filled the new playground while elderly couples relaxed beneath flowering trees. Reporters asked Mara how she felt standing inside a project once dismissed as unrealistic. She smiled toward the families enjoying the spaces she had imagined years earlier. Success, she explained, wasn't proving her critics wrong. Success meant ensuring strangers would never feel forgotten again. Those words spread across newspapers, television broadcasts, and social media. Millions admired her message because it reminded people that healing doesn't require humiliating those who once hurt us. Grant attended the ceremony quietly from the back of the crowd. Nobody chased him away. Nobody embarrassed him publicly. The greatest consequence he faced was witnessing the extraordinary future built by the woman he underestimated. As the ceremony ended, children released hundreds of bright blue and white balloons into the afternoon sky. Mara looked upward, remembering the frightened woman who once believed cruel words defined her worth. That version of herself still existed somewhere inside her memories, but she no longer controlled the future. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may be struggling with self-worth, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories that remind the world compassion still exists. Before we reach the ending, we have one special request. Please leave a comment with the words, my worth is not decided by someone else's opinion. Your words might encourage another person who desperately needs hope today. As the sun slowly settled across the peaceful community park, Mara realized life had given her something far greater than revenge. It had given her peace. The insults that once echoed loudly in her heart had been replaced by laughter from children, gratitude from families, and friendships built on genuine respect. She finally understood that the people who truly matter never measure a person's value by a number on a scale. They measure it by the kindness they leave behind. And in the end, kindness built a legacy that cruelty could never destroy.